thank you for the coffee. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaro. All right, Rabbi, say good morning. Let's begin. Today's daf is daf Tes 9. We are picking up in Meretz Hashem on Ches Amud Beis 8b on the last couple of lines. Amar Lei, so the Gemara says as follows. Amar Lei Rav Acha Breid Rava Rav Ashi. So if you remember again, so we were dealing yesterday with the interesting machlokus between Rav Huna and Rav Ada bar Ava regarding mitzui. Halacha l'maaseh, again we know that when you go ahead, when you go and you do chatas of, so you require zriga. The shaila is, do you require mitzvah as well? Mitzvah representing or meaning the squeezing out of the blood from the body of the bird. So Rav Huna said that halacha l'maaseh, it's a mitzvah. Mitzvah means it's good, but it's not ma'akiv. Not ma'akiv. If you didn't do it, so your carbon is still kosher. Rav Ada bar Ava said it is ma'akev. It is the absolute necessity that mitzui is no different than zrika. Both are absolutely necessary to affect the hakrava of the chatas. So remember again, so we're dealing with, so each of them were interpreting their psukim differently, and ultimately again we begin with that. So Rav Acha said to Rav Ashi, but now based on what you just said, Gabi mincha dichsiv v'hanoseres hachanami she'im no niso. So of course, if you remember again, so the way that Rav Ada bar Ava, went ahead, the way that Rav Ashi, the way that the pasuk that the Gemara quoted yesterday was v'hanishar badam yimatzeh al yisod hamizbeach chatasi. The pasuk said that which is left over, that which was left over from the blood, shall be squeezed out onto the mizbeach. So the Gemara said like this, according to Rav Ada bar Ava, so ultimately again it made sense. The pasuk made sense. Why? Because it said chatasi. But according to Rav Huna, ultimately again, how do you interpret the pasuk? So Rav Huna interpreted v'hanishar to mean what? If there's something left over, then you squeeze it out. But if there's nothing left over, then what? Then you're fine, you just move on, because mitzvah is not ma'akev. So the Gemara says, okay, according to that logic, according to Rav Huna, that halacha l'maisa again, that v'hanisha over, but if not, what do you do with the pasuk ultimately again by mincha? The pasuk says v'hanoseres, so the pasuk reads, v'hanoseres min ha-mincha li aron l'levanav kodesh kadashim, that which is left over from the mincha will be holy of holies. And then it says, so remember again, by mincha, you take the kamitz, you take the handful, the 3 fingerfuls, and the rest belongs to the kohanim. So the Gemara calls that the noseres. Are you telling me over here that noseres by mincha also means if there's left over after the kamitza, then fine. But if there's nothing left over for the mincha after the kamitza, it's okay also. To which the Gemara says, maybe you'll say indeed this is the case. If there's leftover, good. But if there's nothing left over, it's still okay. Top of Tasva Hatanya, Misal Sa'u Mishamna Al Kolavanosa. The pasuk says that you will bring ultimately again the komets from the soles, the fine flour, the shmana, the shamna, the oil, Al Kolavanosa, on all of the lavonosa, literally means frankincense. And what do we learn from there? Prat Shechisra Salsa, V'chisra Shmana, V'chisra Levanosa. And I will say there, the Gemara explains that to me, that halacha l'maisa, even after the kamitza is taken, there must be shirayim. there must be leftover of the flour, of the oil, and of the levona. So what do you see from here? That even when the Torah uses lashon of v'hanishar doesn't just mean, okay, if it happens, there's something that's left over, it's fine. But if there's nothing left over, it's okay also. Hanishar means le'ikuva, that something must be left over. So I will say this would seem to go ahead and support Rav Huna and support Rav Ada bar Ava and refute Rav Huna that halacha l'maisa, just like by mitzvah, just like by dam of the bird, there must be dam left for the mitzui, and if there's not dam left, then ultimately again the carbon will be invalid. To which the Gemara says, no, mincha is different. Why? Amri hasim ksiv v'hanoseres kra yisera ksiv. I will say it's different by mincha. By mincha there's an extra word of v'hanoseres, that which will be left over, to tell you that what? That dafka there must be leftovers in the mincha. The extra word indicates to us that the shirayim, the leftover of the mincha, meaning that which is left over after the kometz, there must be something left over. V'haraya, the Torah uses the extra lashon of v'hanoseres. Good. Masiv avua de Shmuel Rav Huna. So avua de Shmuel raised the question to Rav Huna. Supposed to remember again, Rav Huna is of the opinion that chata sa'of is not ma'akev. So Shmuel bar Avin raised the question to Rav Huna. Echad chata sa'of, echad chata sa'of, ve'echad ola sa'of. So whether you have a chata sa'of or an ola sa'of, shem malkan, that you did malika, umitza daman, and you squeeze the blood out of the body, rest of the blood out of the body of the bird, chutz limkoman, pasul, if you did it outside of the prescribed area, ultimately again, the carbon is pasul, ve'in bo karis, but it is not subject to karis. Chutz lizmanon, if you did it outside of the prescribed time, pigul, then ultimately again the carbon is pigul. V'chayavan alav karis, and one would be chayiv karis ultimately for such an act. Katani mihas, I will say now what's important for us in this statement. Mitzad daman. So we'll say, remember again, here's what's fascinating about this. In this particular brisa, the brisa equates what? Mitzui with zrika. Or I should say the lashon over here is, so right, it says mitzan daman. So we'll say here it's treating mitzan daman, the squeezing of the blood out of the body, as one of the major blood avodos, which would indicate to us what? That halacha l'maaseh is absolutely ma'akiv. To which the Gemara says, "Hu mosiv lava, hu mefarik la, let's studin katani." So he raised the question, he answered the question. We'll say, as we're going to see in the next Mishnah, there's a difference between chata sa'of and ola sa'of. The machlokes Rav Huna and Rav Ada bar Ava about whether or not mitzui is ma'akiv is a machlokes in chata sa'of. In ola sa'of, everyone agrees that halacha l'maisa, you absolutely require mitzui. Therefore, again, remember this brisa is mentioning both of them kind of in one breath, chata sa'of, ola sa'of, but the Gemara suggests that the reference to mitzui is really a din by ola sa'of, not necessarily chata sa'of. Beautiful. Gufa. Tanad Rabbi Shmuel, she'im nishar bedam. So let's remember again. So now we quoted before, the Gemara is restating the rest that we had before, that Rabbi Shmuel said that if there is blood left over, so we'll say nishar bedam makes it sound like if there happens to be leftover blood from mitzui, great. But if there's not leftover blood, then what? It's not ma'akiv. To which the Gemara says, but what about the fact v'amar papa? V'hatanad Rabbi Shmuel hasim shirai ma'akvin. So we have elsewhere that Rabbi Shmuel holds that what? That shirai ma'akvin, that mitzvah is an absolute necessity. To which the Gemara says, amar papa mitzvah chata sofika benayu. Sheit tenoi alibud Rabbi Shmuel. To which the Gemara says, in fact, there is a machlokes about what the position of Rabbi Shmuel was. Does Rabbi Shmuel hold that mitzvah is ma'akev, mitzvah is not ma'akev, halacha l'maisa, that is a machlokes. So both sides. So therefore again, the sugya ends off with the fundamental dispute between Rav Huna and Rav Ada bar Ava regarding mitzvah in chatas ha'of. Rav Huna telling us that mitzvah is eino ma'akev, it's a mitzvah. Of course you should do it if you can, but it's not ma'akiv, and Rav Ada bar Ava telling us that it is absolutely ma'akiv. So we'll say, so how do we paskin? So listen to this. So the Rambam in Hilchos, in Meilah Karbanos, Perek Zayin, Halacha Zayin, writes as follows. He paskins, umitzui dam chata sa'of ma'akiv. Ultimately, again, the Rambam himself paskins like Rav Ada bar Ava, namely that not only is the sprinkling of the blood by chata asof of an absolute and indispensable necessity, but mitzui hadam, the squeezing out of the blood of the rest of the oath, is also ma'akiv. Ve'inu mizbeach ba ela dama va'ashar ne'ach ala zirchei kuna ki basar chadas habehema. Fine. So that's a different. If we don't have time for it now, but in the previous halacha, it's actually interesting that Rambam goes through step by step of the chata sa'of. If we have time, a different time in Mirza Hashem, we'll focus on it. But halacha l'maisa, the Rambam paskins that mitzui chata sa'of is ma'akev, is an absolute necessity, no different than the actual haziyah, than the sprinkling of the blood itself. Beautiful. Says the Mishnah. Now here we have a really great Mishnah, log Mishnah, talking about the impact, ultimately, again, of the various avodos on. It's not, well, the Mishnah here is not going to talk about Meilah, talking about various halachic statuses, but again, of course, our focus is Meilah. So here we go. Ola Sa'of. So we'll say Ola Sa'of. So what's the halacha? Molin Ba Mishul Disha. So it is subject to Meilah from the moment that it is consecrated. And I both say, now understand, in this context, when we're speaking about hukdasha always means a verbal designation, right? So from the moment, ultimately, again, that it is verbally designated as an ola sa'uf, it is subject, ultimately, it is hukdash, it's kodesh. Nimlaka, if once malika is done, so we'll say once malika is done, then that ultimately makes it receptive to makabel tuma. In that halacha l'maisa, if a tvul yom, we saw this yesterday, just in the context of chata sa'of instead of ola sa'of. So once malika is done, it becomes receptive to tuma from a tvul yom. Remember again, someone who is tamei went to the mikvah but still needs sunset. B'chusar kippurim, someone who is missing his final stage karbanos, like the mitzora, who's waited all of his days, gone through his purification process, but still needs to bring karbanos. Ubelina, and with remaining overnight. In other words, remaining past is permitted window of consumption. And Rabbi says, we pointed out yesterday, the lashon of lipasel means what? That the item itself has the ability to contract tuma, but what? Does not have the ability to convey it. Okay, mitzah dama. Once the mitzvah is, and so also remember again, very important. This is ola sa'of. Remember what we just said before in the Gemara. What was the distinction? The machlokes we had regarding mitzui was in chatos. Right, in chatos, that's why the machlokes Rav Huna and Rav Ada bar Ava. Is mitzui ma'akev? Is it not ma'akev? In ola sa'of, everyone agrees that you must do mitzui. You do the haziyah, do the sprinkling, and you must do the mitzui. You must squeeze the rest of the blood out of the bird as well. Next, mitzah dama. Once you did mitzah, chayavin alav mishum pigul, no servetame. Ultimately, again, once mitzah is done, so then the animal becomes subject, the bird becomes subject to pigul, no servetame. Umbolin ba, and you commit meilah. You could commit meilah, or now you can't. Meaning, one commits meilah with the bird ad shetetzi lebeis hadeshen, until the ashes of the bird are taken out to the base hadesh. And this is actually very important. Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says, "Umolin ba'ad shetei to the base hadeshen." Techevan de kula kalil. Remember again, this is an ola sa'of. Ola sa'of is totally burned on the mizbeach. Ve'in ba'heter la'kohanim li'olam. There is no part of the bird that is consumed by the kohanim at all. Ma'olin ba'ad sheti saref kula. It is subject to Meilah until it is totally burnt. Vitinatal me'afra trumas hadeshen. To the point where I will say that not only is it enough that it's burned, but it's ultimately again going to be subject to Meilah until the ashes are actually removed from the mizbeach and taken outside of the Beis Hamikdash to the Beis Hadeshen. Vitinatal me'afra trumas hadeshen dichsiv ve'emes hadeshen v'shuv kevan shenasis mitzvaso ein molin bar. We'll say, remember again, the logic over here, and this is going to be throughout the Mishnah, is a consecrated item is subject to Meilah until when? Up until the point that its avoda has been done. Once the avoda has been done, the Meilah prohibition is lifted. So for example, in many karbanos, any karban, which ultimately again can be consumed by kohanim, once zrika is done, so the sacrificial service is over, permitted to be eaten by kohanim, and therefore Meilah restriction is lifted. Right? In the case of ola sa'of, there is nothing that is consumed. It's meaning by the kohanim, it's totally consumed in the mizbeach. As such, it is subject to Meilah until its avoda is done. When is the avoda done? Until it's turned to ash and removed from the Mizbeach. At that, because remember again, even items that are totally burnt on the Mizbeach, the halacha is they remain ash on the Mizbeach. Then the next morning, there's Trumas Hadesh and removal of the ash. Only once the ash is removed is the avoda of the Olas Ha'of done, and is the restriction of Meilah lifted. Parim hanesrafim, usirim hanesrafim. So both in the case of parim hanesrafim, usirim hanesrafim, remember again, these are kadshei kadashim, but they are not consumed by the Kohanim. So what's the halacha? Molin by Meshok Teshu. They are subject to Meilah as soon as they are consecrated. Nishchetu, once they are shechted. Hochshur li pasal b'tvul yom b'chosar kippurim. Once they're shechted, so then ultimately again they are receptive to Tumah through a tvul yom, through mechosar kippurim, and through lina. Huza daman, if their blood was sprinkled, once their blood was sprinkled, hayav alem mishum pigul, no sarvitame. So again, I will say same halacha. Once the blood is sprinkled, then they become receptive to pigul, no sarvitame, umolin bahan b'beis hadeshen ad shiyati chabasar. And ultimately again they are subject to Meilah. Ultimately again until they reach the base hadeshen ad shiyati chabasar. So we'll say if you take a look over here. So first it's just Yuta Chabasar. Look at Rashi. Ad Yuta Chabasar, it's in the second wide line. Ad Shiyis Akil Habasar Shenaase Efer Dahinu Mitzvasan. But say literally again they're subject to Meilah when? Up until the point that the meat turns totally into ash in the base hadeshen. So we'll say pretty much it's the same thing as before. Because any time that something is an olah, something that is burnt on the Mizbeach, it is subject to Meilah. It is subject to Meilah until it turns to ash, and the ash is removed from the Mizbeach and taken to the base hadeshen. Next, ha'olah, molin ba mishuk tesha. So we'll say an olah becomes subject to Meilah as soon as it is consecrated. Nishchita, once you shechted, hochshira li pasal b'tvul yom umchusar kippurim ubalina. So we'll say once you shechted, it becomes receptive to Tumah with a tvul yom, muchusar kippurim, lina, nizrak damo. What happens after you do zrika? Chayav alem mishum pigul. Once zrika is done, then it becomes receptive to Tumas pigul, no sar and tamei. Ve'in molin ba'oros. Now we'll say halacha l'maisa. Ultimately, there is no Meilah. There is no Meilah with the hide. Why is there no Meilah with the hide? Third wide line in ve'imolin bora to shal kohanimhu, because what's the hide belongs to the Kohen. Dichsiv or ha'olah sheyakriv lakohen lo yihiyah. So we'll say so because the hide is the property of the Kohen, therefore halacha l'maisa it's not subject to Meilah. Ava molin babasar, but halacha l'maisa the meat itself, right, is subject to Meilah. Ad sheteitze lebeis hadeshen, until ultimately again it is totally burnt, turned into ash, and the ash is removed on the mizbeach and taken to the beis hadeshen. So also again, you see the theme over here. This is really fascinating. You see the theme. The theme halacha l'maisa is that any time that you have an olah offering of any type, so halacha l'maisa, because it's never consumed by the kohanim, and the avoda is to totally burn it on the mizbeach, it will be subject to Meilah ultimately again until it is reduced to ash and removed from the mizbeach. Next, chatas va'asham v'zivchei shal mitzibor. So we'll say so. Chatas, asham, sin offerings, zivchei shal mitzibor are communal shlamim. So what's the halacha? Molin b'haim b'shog deshu. They are subject to Meilah as soon as they are consecrated. Nishchetu, if halacha l'maisa they're shechted, or when they're shechted, huchshru li pasal b'tvul yom, mechosar kippurim, ubalina. So once they're shechted, they are receptive to Tumah with a tvul yom, mechosar kippurim, lina, nizrak daman. If once zrika was done, chayav and alam mishum pigul no servatame. So I'll say once you do zrika, so then they become subject to all of these other prohibitions. Pigul no servatame. Ein molin babasar. Now remember again, in this case of chatas asham zivchei shami tzibor, as soon as you do zrika, what's the halacha? The meat becomes permitted to the kohanim. So once there's zrika, then what's the halacha? No Meilah. No Meilah. So ein molin babasar. So therefore, once you do zrika, the meat itself will not be subject to any type of prohibition of Meilah. Aval molin be'imurehen ad sheyetzu lebeis hadeshen. But I will say, like any carbon, even if halacha l'mais you're permitted to eat the meat, Remember again, the sacrificial limbs, which are the limbs which are placed on the Mizbeach, ultimately what? Will be subject to Meilah when? Until they are reduced to ash, and until the ash is taken out of the Beis HaMikdash to the Beis HaDashan. Beautiful. Next, Shtei Alechem. We'll say very exciting. The beauty of this Mishnah, I see how beautiful this is. Like literally, we're going through every type of carbon here. So this is like one of these panoramic view Mishnahs. Very exciting. Shtei Alechem. So let's remember again, Shtei Alechem refers to the 2 loaves that are brought on Shavuos. So what's halacha with Shtei Alechem? So we'll say, says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, Shtei Alechem. Molin b'hamishu hukdeshu. They become subject to Meilah as soon as you consecrate them. Right? As soon as you consecrate the loaves, subject to Meilah. However, but karmu b'tanor. Now, we'll say karmu b'tanor means when you begin to bake them in the oven and they begin to form a crust. They begin to form a crust. So huchsharu li pasel b'tful yom u'mechusher kippurim u'belina. We'll say once they begin to form a crust, then halacha l'maisa they are subject to, or I should say they are receptive to tumah through a tvul yom, mechusar kippurim, and lina. We'll say take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says over here, shtei alecha molin bahen mishahok deshu bepeh. Fine. Kano b'tanor dainu tchilas asiyasam. Now we'll say as we're going to see, the moment that the bread begins to crust over is the moment that it really gains its identity as bread. That's the moment when it begins to gain its identity. Therefore, Rashi says, "Vahu karuma chashiv lahachshev nifsa b'tvul yom kimo shchita dekatshek hadashim." So we'll say, interestingly enough, what Rashi says is that the crusting, I don't know if that's the right word that you could use like that, the crusting of the bread is like the equivalent of the shchita of a karban. Just like the shchita of the karban is what mamish makes it into the identity of a karban. It's been sacrificed, meaning it's been shechted. So too the crusting of the bread is what endows it with true carbonic identity. So therefore, again, lifsol Now, here's something also very interesting, which is, remember, the Shtei Alechem is 2 loaves with an accompanying carbon. You're only allowed to bring the carbon once the bread has crusted over. So before the bread has crusted, halacha l'mais, you cannot bring the carbon. Nizrak daman shal kvasim. So I will say, once you do zrika of the blood of the kvasim, remember the kvasim, right, are the accompanying carbon to the Shtei Alechem. Then chayav alei mishum pigol no sarvitame. Then ultimately again they become subject to pigol no sarvitame ve'ein bahem Meilah. Then I will say that this is actually very interesting. That ultimately again the bread itself will not be subject to Meilah. So halacha l'maisa again. In other words, what is it saying? Remember, the Mishnah just said that Shtei Alechem, once you're makdish it is subject to Meilah. What it means is that halacha l'maisa, once zrika is done, halacha l'maisa, it won't be subject to Meilah. Rashi says, "Ein by Meilah, the Yeshman shas heter lekohanim ukvar nasis mitzvasan." Good. Lechem apanim. But what about lechem apanim? Right? Remembering lechem apanim are loaves of bread placed on the shulchan. So lechem apanim molin bo mishok teshu. So we'll say, so once you go ahead and you consecrate lechem apanim, it becomes subject to Meilah. Interestingly enough, karam betanor, both say same thing. Once the bread has crusted inside of the oven, hochshar lipasel b'tvul yom. We'll say then it becomes receptive to tumah through a tvul yom, mechusar kippurim, ulis ulahazdir al gabi ashulchan. So we'll say, see here another important fact. By lechem apanim, once it crusts, so then halacha l'maisa, of course, it becomes receptive to tumah in all these different ways. But what else? Once it crusts, you have the right to put it on the shulchan. Interesting. So I will say, which is fascinating, because what it also says is, you might be able to put not fully baked bread, because just because it crusts on the outside doesn't necessarily mean, I'm assuming, doesn't necessarily mean it's fully baked on the inside. So it's interesting to note that once it crusts, then it has the identity of bread. Karvu habazichin. So also remember again, on the shulchan were spoons of the bazichin, spoons of frankincense, of lavona. Once those frankincense, once those bazichin were offered, ultimately again you will be chayiv because of pigol no sertame. But once those are offered, ein bo Meilah, the bread is no longer subject itself to Meilah. Good. Hamanachos. What's about a kar mincha? Molin b'hem mishok teshu. They are subject to Meilah as soon as they are consecrated. Kadshu b'kli. Once you sanctify. So also remember again, mishahuk deshu. If throughout this Mishnah means what? Mishahuk deshu b'peh. Once you verbally designate something, it attains a carbonic identity, and therefore ultimately will be subject to Meilah. Kadshu b'kli. Once you put the mincha in a kli shares, hochshru li pasal b'tvul yom, muchosir kippurim ubelina. Then ultimately again, it become tameh with tvul yom, muchosir kippurim, and lina. Karav hakometz. Once the kometz, so remember again by karba mincha, you take the 3 fingerfuls, you offer it up on the mizbeach. So once you offer up the kometz, then what? Chayavin alav mishum pigol, no sar and tameh, ve'ein molin b'shirayim. But I will say halacha l'maisa, the shirayim, the leftover parts of the mincha, are not subject to Meilah. Why not? Very simple. Why not? Because they're permitted for consumption by the Kohanim. Once you're permitted for consumption, then halacha l'maisa is no longer subject to Meilah. So the Gemara says, "Aval molin b'kometz ad sheyetze lebeis hadeshen." But halacha l'maisa, the kometz itself, which is the part of the mincha that is removed to be burnt on the mizbeach, is totally burnt on the mizbeach, and therefore subject to Meilah until it is reduced to ash and removed out to the Beis Hadeshen. Incredible. Says the Gemara, Itmar, Hanena me'efar tafuach shal gabi hamizbeach. So also now an interesting discussion. What happens if one gets hana, one gets benefit from the efer tafuach? So I'll say the efer tafuach, if you look at Rashi, Hanena me'efar tafuach, kainu, la'achar shehirim trumas hadeshen, dach itanim meseches tamid, shebetchila kishayarotza litrom trumas hadeshen haya ola l'rosh hamizbeach, upinas hagicholim elach ve'elach, v'chata sama acholos hapinimios, v'yard v'hainu trumas hadeshen. Higia l'ritzba, tzavaras hagicholim ala ritzba, rachok min hakeves gimel tfachim, hainu makam shenosnim sham trumas hadeshen, v'anishach hamizbeach hayot sober es ha'efer l'tzad echad sham mizbeach biyachad, v'osi igul kumin tafach. Supposed to listen to this. So halacha l'maisa, every morning there was Trumas Hadashen. Kohen would go ahead and remove some of the ash, and that ash would be removed of the Mizbeach. Now there was still more ash. That ash was simply was moved to the side and was a pile on the Mizbeach. See, here comes the fundamental shaila. What happens if one gets benefit, one gets some type of hana from the remaining ash pile on the Mizbeach? So both say, so the shaila is that remaining ash pile subject to Meilah or not? Rav Amar Ein Molin Bo. Rav says it's not subject to Meilah. Rabbi Yochanan Molin Bo. Rabbi Yochanan says it is subject to Meilah. So let's further analyze what the machlokes is. Lifnei Trumas Hadeshen Kuli Amal Pligi Demolin. So we'll say, obviously, if before Trumas Hadeshen, if we're talking about before the actual ash was removed, Trumas Hadeshen, everyone will agree that the entire pile is subject to Meilah. The Gemara says, Kifli, where does the machlokes come up? La'achar Trumas Hadeshen, after the ash was removed. So we'll say, now you've done the avodah of Trumas Hadeshen, you've removed a little bit of ash, there's the remaining ash pile. So what's the shaila? Am I chayiv Meilah for ultimately getting hana from the rest of that ash pile? Rav Amar Ein Molin Bahari Nasa Mitzvaso. So Rav says the halacha l'maisa, it's not subject to Meilah. Why? Because you've performed the mitzvah of Trumas Hadeshen. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Kevan dichsiv v'lavash hakoin midobad. Kevan ditzarch lebigdei kuna biktush shasei. So this is actually very interesting. On the other hand, so Rabbi Yochanan will say that halacha l'maisa, look at Rashi just a moment. Tzarech bigdei kuna. If you look 3 lines off the bottom of Rashi, dahu v'lavash begad machirim hainu bigdei kuna ela shechusim min arishon. So both say, interestingly enough, so Rabbi Yochanan will say that halacha l'maisa, since when dealing with the ash on top of the mizbeach, the Torah uses the lashon that the Torah explains that the kohen has to wear bigdei kuna. The fact that he has to wear bigdei kuna indicates to us what? That the ash on the mizbeach still retains some residual kedusha, and therefore, if you were to be nana from it, you would be chayiv for Meilah. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes, status of the ash on top of the mizbeach after Trumas Hadeshen is done, after ultimately the removal of the ash, of the sacrificial ash is done, still more remaining ash, halacha l'maisa, subject to Meilah, not subject to Meilah, machlokes. So let's go back to this. So Tanan, Molin ban Ashetei Beis Hadeshen. So we'll say we have a Mishnah that says that ultimately what? That anything burnt on the Mizbeach, totally burnt on the Mizbeach, is subject to Meilah until it's taken out to the Beis Hadeshen. To which the Gemara says, Kashya l'Rav. So we'll say this would seem to pose a question to Rav. Amar l'cha Rav, Ad shetiru lebeis hadeshen. No, Rav says what it means is until it's fit to be taken out to the beis hadeshen. Look at Rashi. Ad shetira hainu ad haramas trumas hadeshen. Aval achar shetarim trumas hadeshen osa nishaya roi v'milas hadeshen v'shuv emilas. So Rav will say, once it is fit to be taken out to Trumas Hadeshen, once Trumas Hadeshen is done, the rest of the ash will not be subject to Meilah. Amud Beis. So it says the Gemara, V'chulon shepaku meisvei. We raise a kasha. This is actually an interesting case. Kulon shepaku me'agabi hamizbeach lo yachzir. Supposed to listen to this case. What happens? We've actually had this before. What happens if something pops off the mizbeach? Look at Rashi. Actually, look at Tosos for just a moment. Tosos says, "V'chulon shepaku me'agabi hamizbeach beperek hamizbeach mekadesh isa v'hai at samos v'gidin utlafim kamar ayri b'hu bereisha dahach to'im parshu lo yalu perush atzam v'agidim min abasar shay mechubarin v'ala kayach seifa v'ka'amar v'kulan be mechubar." Supposed to listen to this. So this is talking about if, let's say, some of the parts of the animal, the sinews or other parts of the flesh, the bones, pop off the mizbeach. Are you obligated to put them back on? The kulan shepakom me'agabi mizbeach lo yachzir. So we'll say halacha l'maisa. Halacha l'maisa, something pops off the mizbeach. You're not obligated to put it back on. V'chin gacheles shepakom me'agabi mizbeach lo yachzir. Similarly, if you have a gacheles, now we'll say, what does gacheles mean? We normally translate gacheles as a coal. What it means is some type of hardened substance, carbonic substance that was burning, but then it popped off. Halacha l'maisa, you're not obligated to put it back on. So the Gemara says, Ha al gabi hamizbeach yachzir. And I will say, now what this sounds like is what? What this sounds like is, if it popped off what we call like the ma'aracha, if it popped off where the actual stuff is burned. But remember again, the surface of the mizbeach was quite large. In the middle there, you had a ma'aracha, which is like a pyre of wood, and you would burn the karbanos on there. There are two different cases of popping off. Something could pop off the mizbeach in its entirety and land on the floor, or something could pop off the pyre and land on the surface of the mizbeach. So the Gemara says that it sounds like if you have a gacheles that popped off the mizbeach, you don't have to put it back on. Ha agabi mizbeach, so if it popped off the pyre, but it's on top of the mizbeach, yachzir halacha l'mais. You should put it back on. So bishlam Rabbi Yochanan necha el Rav Akasha. So we'll say this makes sense according to Rabbi Yochanan, because what did Rabbi Yochanan say? Rabbi Yochanan said that halacha l'maisa, there is Meilah by the ash even after Trumas Hadeshen. So we'll say, Rabbi Yochanan holds that anything on the mizbeach is subject to Meilah, which therefore makes sense that if the coal pops off and it's on the mizbeach, you should put it back on the pyre in order to burn it, because it's still subject to Meilah. El Rav Kasha, but according to Rav Rabbi say halacha l'maisa, he says that once it's ash, it's no longer subject to Meilah. So what's the pshat? Why would you have to put it back on? Rav shiny gacheles. Rav would say, well, no. The case of the coal is different. Why? The ispe mishasha. Ultimately, again, because it has substance. And I will say, in other words, what Rav will say is there's a difference between a little piece of ash and a gacheles, which is substantive. The gacheles, which is substantive, should in fact be placed back on the mizbeach. So I'll say others have an alternate version of this exchange. The reason you have to put the coal back when it pops off the pyre onto the mizbeach is because it has substance. But based on that, you would say that just stam ash, which doesn't have any substance, even if it fell onto the mizbeach, ultimately again it would not be subject to Meilah. So according to Rav, so that makes sense, because according to Rav, once the avoda is done, the remaining ash is no longer subject to Meilah. El Rabbi Yochanan kasha. According to Rabbi Yochanan, this poses a kasha. Rabbi Yochanan says no, even the ash itself is subject to Meilah. So then why do we mention gacheles? So the Gemara says comes to teach us that even a gacheles which has substance, both say the chiddush is that even a gacheles which does have substance, if it pops from the pyre onto the mizbeach, you should put it back. But if it pops off the mizbeach onto the entire, if it pops totally off the mizbeach and falls into the floor, then in that case, halacha l'mais, you're not obligated to put it back. Good. Itmar hanan mibasar kachas. So just by the way, right? How do we paskin? Fundamental machlokes about the ash on the mizbeach. So we'll say, remember again, we've established is before Trumas Hadeshen, everybody agrees that the ash on the Mizbeach is subject to Meilah. The Shaila is after Trumas Hadeshin, after the Kohen comes in and removes some of the ash and does the Avoda with that, what's the status of the remaining ash on the Mizbeach? Machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Is it subject to Meilah or not? So the Rambam Paskins in Hilchos Meilah, Parak Beis, Halach Yudalid, Dishen HaMizbeach HaChitzon, Bein Kol Ramas Hadeshin, Bein Achar Ramas Hadeshin, Molin Bo. We'll say Salocha L'Maisa, the ash that is on the Mizbeach is subject to Meilah. That's how the Rambam Paskins. Halacha L'Maisa, even after Trumas Hadeshin, everything is subject to Meilah. Good. Itmar. Hanenemi Basar Kachei Kadashim L'Nei Zrikas Damim. If a person gets Hana from the meat of Kachei Kadashim before Zrika, which of course remember is Aser, before Zrika is Aser, Ume Amurei Kachim Kalim Achar Zrikas Damim, or you get Hana from limbs of Kachim Kalim after Zrika. So also remember again, those are the limbs that are what? That are normally burnt to the Mizbeach and remain subject to Meilah. So in other words, you've committed an act of Meilah. So what's the halacha? Rav Amar, Mashenene Yiplu L'Nedava. So we'll say, so we'll begin this. We won't be able to get too far, so at least we'll begin it. So Rav says, whatever hana you got, the money that you pay back should go to Nedava. Look at Rashi. Rav Amar Mashenene, Kilomar Keren V'chomesh, Shechayiv L'Shalim B'Shil Mashenene, Yiplu L'Nedava. So let's remember again, when you commit an act of Meilah, what is the punishment? What's the result of Meilah? You have to pay back principal plus a fifth, plus a chomesh. So the shaila is, what does that money go towards? So Rav says it goes towards Nidava. Rashi says karbanos sibor, communal offerings. It goes into the pot for communal offerings. Levi says yavi davar shekul mizbeach. You use the money ultimately for something that is totally burnt on the Mizbeach. We'll see what that means in just a moment. Tanya Kavase de Levi. We have a brayse that supports Levi. If you commit Meilah and you pay back the base of Meilah, where does the money go to? So Halameid Lefnei Chacham Omrim, those who learn before the Chachamim, in other words, those who learn in the base Medrash said, Yavi Davar Shekul Mizbeach. You should bring something ultimately again that is totally consumed by the Mizbeach. Umayniu, what is this referred to? Kitoras. Both say Kitoris is an offering that is totally burnt to the Mizbeach. So fundamental machlokes Rav and Levi. I committed an act of Meilah. I have to pay back principal and a fifth. What do we do with my money? Rav says communal offerings. Levi says Kitoris. Both say we'll continue with this machlokes tomorrow. Shkoyach.